Good evening, and welcome to the very first broadcast of MXDTV with me, your host, Mark Delgado. I'm getting alerts that I'm live on YouTube. Okay, so hopefully we're up and running. This is a new show. I'm starting here from my little office in Glenford, New York. Let's see. Oh, I got a alert from my executive producer, Melanie Delgado, telling me that all systems are go. Okay, good. So here we are. MXDTV, thanks to Philip Franklin for giving the show a name. Those are my initials, MXD, Mark X Delgado, which is also how you find me online, markxdelgado.com. Thanks for joining me tonight, and let's get into it. We drove out through the dust, past the abandoned buildings and the rundown warehouses, out to the kingdom of grapes and the luminous peach trees, out to where the chain-link fence bent down beneath the weight of an ancient tree, and they were all buried there. Fathers and mothers, sisters and liars and killers, they were all buried there. And I left that town, and I moved north to where the river cut the city in half, and the trouble I made kept me up for days. Grapes cut a long green scar across the face of the valley floor, and like all wounds it tells the story, the song of how the West was won. 'Cause out in California, harbor towns are killing floor, washed with methamphetamines, and all the longshoremen's hands, they bleed to a cracked glove upon the wheel. Out in California, you find the sun. Up north, the capital gain make the rules for everyone, and a man with a suit and a chain, well, he's with you and he's gone. Crowned with a head full of thorns, Sodom and maybe Gomorrah. out in California, they spend their nights in bars. They ride off in a stretch limousine, maps to the movie stars. 'Cause they wanna make you believe that out in California, out in California, out in California, you'll find the sun. I thought I would start the show with those two songs because those are the tracks 1 and 2 from my new record, Wildwood Road, that I just completed and put out in August with the help of, let's see, let's show that. Thanks, Soup has tuned in. Thanks, man. Thanks for that comment. Sweet. That's very nice. Let's see. All right. Don't judge me too harshly on my ability to control this. Those are the first 2 tracks from my new record, Wildwood Road, that I put out in August with the help of my great writing partner and friend and producer and multi-instrumentalist and all-around great guy, Justin Tracy, and the amazing gentleman in my band, Todd Nelson and James Allenson Kirk. Anyway, we put that record out in August. If you haven't heard it, I hope you listen to it. You can listen to it anywhere. And those 2 tracks are very symbolic of the whole thing, which is I grew up in California, in Fresno, California, in the Central Valley, and those particular songs give a real mood as far as what I was contending with as a young man. The first piece is something called "We Drove Out Through the Dust," and it's part of a longer short story narrative that I wrote, and Justin composed the orchestration on that, and came out really nice. We thought we'd start the record with it. I'm about to do something now that is a real show killer and perhaps an ill-advised mood, but this is going to be kind of how this thing's going to go. In my mind, this is what I want to do, and what I'd like to read for you now is a poem that's very important to me. It's written by a guy named Larry Levis, who was also born in California and lived on a farm. I believe it was in Madera. If anybody's listening and knows the difference, they can correct me. But in Fresno, California, there was a lot of drugs, and there was a lot of crime, and there was a lot of weird things going on, and then there was a lot of beautiful poets that lived there. And they're referred to as the Fresno poets. And for my money, they've got the beat poets beat. I didn't plan that. But I'd like to read this poem, which is pretty influential in my life and in my art. And this is a poem from Larry Levis from his book, The Dollmaker's Ghost. And this haircut is interesting because I have a hat on now, but this is a very similar haircut to what I would wear. And this whole thing is very Fresno, the haircut and the mustache and the anyway. This is from a book called The Dollmaker's Ghost. It's the very first poem, and it's called Picking Grapes in an Abandoned Vineyard. Goes like this. Oh, unfortunately, I'm going to have to do that. Picking grapes alone in the late autumn sun, a short, curved knife in my hand, its blade silver from so many sharpenings, its handle black. I still have a scar where a friend sliced open my right index finger once in a cutting shed, the same kind of knife. The grapes drop into the pan, and the gnats swarm over them as always. 15 years ago, I worked this row of vines beside a dozen families up from Mexico. No one spoke English or wanted to. One woman, who made an omelet with a sheet of tin and 5 light blue quail eggs, had a voice full of dusk and jail cells and bird calls. She spoke in Spanish to no one, as they all did. Their swearing was specific and polite. I remember 2 of them clearly. A man named T, 6 feet, 9 inches tall, at the age of 62, who wore white spats into downtown Fresno each Saturday night, an alcoholic giant whom the women loved. One chilled morning, they found him dead outside the Rose Cafe. And Angel Dominguez, who came to work for my grandfather in 1910, and who saved for years to buy 20 acres of rotting Thompson seedless vines. While the sun flared all one August, he decided he was dying of a rare disease, and spent his money and his last years on specialists who found nothing wrong. T laughed and, tipping back a bottle of Muscatel, said, "Nothing's wrong. You're just dying." At 17, I discovered Parlier, California, with its sad topless bar and its one main street and its opium. I would stand still and chalk my cue stick in Johnny Poloris's East Front pool hall and watch the room filling with tobacco smoke as the sun set through one window. Now all I hear are the vines rustling as I go from one to the next, the long canes holding up dry leaves, reddening so late in the year. What the vines want must be this silence spreading over each town, over the dance halls and the dying parks and the police drowsing in their cruisers under the stars. What the men who worked here wanted was a drink strong enough to let out what laughter they had. I can still see the 2 of them. T smiles and lets his yellow teeth shine, while Angel, the serious one, for whom death was a rare disease, purses his lips and looks down as if he is already mourning himself, a soft gray hat between his hands. Today, in honor of them, I press my thumb against the flat part of this blade and steady a bunch of red Malaga grapes with one hand, the way they showed me, and cut, and close my eyes to hear them laugh at me again, and then, hearing nothing, no one, carry the grapes up into the solemn house where I was born. You can kind of hear so much of that and just about everything I try to do. All I do is just steal from Larry Levis. I'm going to have a drink. Now I'm about to do another ill-advised move, and that's attempt to put this harmonica harness on to play you this next song. So bear with me. I think I'm going to take off my headphones to do so. I thought about it quite a bit as to should I use this harmonica harness, and should I just keep it on so I wouldn't have to do that. It's already boring just talking about it. I'd like to play you this old love song. This is a pre-Melanie love song, which means that all of the pre-Melanie love songs are about breakups. And when and Melanie used to say, "How come there's no song about me?" And I'd say, "Well, we'd have to break up in order for there to be a song about you." Turns out that's not true, but we'll get into that another time. For now, this is a song off of my last record that I made with my great friends from Fresno, California, Tomas Medrano and Victor Sotelo and Peter Wolf. That's right, Peter Wolf, that's really his name. This is a little song called "Asleep in a Cave," and it's about the penultimate relationship I was in, and I believe it was the 34th relationship I destroyed before meeting my wife, which I have yet to ruin. Oh wait, she's sending me a message telling me I blew it. No, just kidding. She didn't do that. Just kidding. All right, let's try this song, shall we? Yeah. Sleep in a cave, I've been here for days. Don't know which song to sing or how to set you free. Sleep in a cave, I've been here for days. I don't know which song to sing or how to set you free. From the nightmare's child, from the high wires that we climb, and the way that you scared me the most was when you smiled. And you sang the same thing to me. No matter how hard you tried to save this symphony. And you played a silent reverie. Each and every time you tried to rescue me. From the nightmare's child, high wires that you climb, the way that you scared me the most was when you smiled. And now I know it's time to quit this ruined verse that we rehearsed and we tried to make it rhyme. Never made it rhyme. I'm now going to take the harmonica harness back off, so I'll have to remove, once again, the headphones, and then we'll be done with it. I think I'll throw them across the room. One moment. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. It could have been bad. That was, I don't know how many times I've touched my face. I'm sure Melanie's keeping count. But I'll try not to do that. This next song is another song off of my last record, which is called High in a Neon Dive. If anybody knows me, they know I spend a lot of time singing and talking and writing about getting high. This one is about a relationship I ruined because I was getting high. It's not funny. This is a little song called Dear Kate. It's written in the form of a letter. Do I want to do that there? I think I just want to move it up a little bit. All right, here we go. The sailors came too late to celebrate. Mindset was it's always gonna be this way. To make up for lost time, you drank and drank and drank. Ambitious ships set sail, dashed their stupid dreams along the beach. Dear Kate, storyteller's face was flat and gray. Policeman said, take all of your hidden things and please just quietly go away. Prince the thief, the poet he had to wait and wait and wait. 'Cause the story never ends. So no, you can't depend on me, dear Kate. Major Tom was wrong, it's not lonely out in space. When your friends are gone, you know that you're in a better place. Here we are right now till the end, dear Kate. Here we are right now till the end. St. George was waiting on a train. No one seemed to care that the hero had been slain. At least that stole your love. You ate and ate and ate. sometimes you just pretend. Make defeat your friend. Now won't you please decay? Major Tom is wrong, it's not lonely out in space. When your friend's gone, you know that you're in a better place. 'Cause here we are right now to the end decade. Here we are right now till the end. Ashes to ashes and funk to funky. We know Major Tom's a junkie, strung out in heaven's high, hidden all time low. Ashes to ashes and funk to funky. We know Major Tom's a junkie, strung out in heaven's high, hitting an all-time low. My mama said to get things done, you better not mess with Major Tom. Said to get things done, better not mess with Major Tom. My mama said to get things done, you better not mess with Major Tom. Okay. That, of course, is little David Bowie at the end there, who has one of the great fictional junkies of all time, Major Tom, who makes a guest appearance in my song. I never got sued for that, probably because I don't have any money. If I had money, maybe I would have got sued. I'm not complaining. I'd like now to read another poem. And this one is also connected to Fresno, deeply connected to Fresno, where I grew up, and some of the stories I've been telling. There was a very particular murder in Fresno that was never solved, and there was a woman in Fresno who owned a place called the Bookstall, and she was killed inside of her home, which doubled as a bookstore, and it was my favorite bookstore of all time, and it was in that bookstore that I found this book, which changed my life. This is a book called it's called Shooting Rats at the Bibb County Dump. And it's by a guy named David Bottoms, who has gone on to be one of my favorite writers, and I highly recommend this book. And this book I found in the bookstall. I believe, I don't remember where. I want to say, just for drama's sake, that it was in a staircase, because everywhere was bookshelves, and I want to say that it was in a staircase that I found this book, and that's where I first read it. But anyway, this is maybe one of the top 5 most important poems to me. And one moment, I just got to make sure that there we go. David Bottoms, I believe, is from Georgia, but I don't know, maybe. Canton, Georgia. Yeah, Southern guy. So this is a great poem called All Systems Tower and Collapse. This should be a night for beer and good talk, or Tennessee whiskey and motel girls. But tonight I drink and lie here alone, listening to walls say others have found better company to share their darkness. From the nightstand by the bed, Gideons offer me the company of old words, but their premise is all wrong. So is yours, and any philosophy that demands the found absolute of any method. Here's the natural gospel of it all. All systems tower and collapse, and we babble in darkness, seeking foundations for other reconstructions, knowing all along that what works always is nothing. You find things that you can... I remember watching the Bob Dylan documentary 100 million times, No Direction Home, and he talks about listening to Woody Guthrie songs, and he said, these songs, I could listen to Woody Guthrie songs and I could learn how to live my life. And it's that poem in particular, and a lot of them, that kind of did that for me. I found people explaining things in a way that made sense to me. Definitely that poem has been the foundation for my bizarre life philosophy, which changes day to day depending on how grumpy I am. You know, I've done a lot of these I've done these live streams as a guest, and Melanie and I have been talking about doing this for a long time. And so, you know, thanks to my good friend Juan Chapa, if he's out there, he bought me this microphone and the gear to do this. I wouldn't even be doing this if it wasn't for him. I wouldn't be doing a lot of things if it wasn't for him. But anyway, thanks, Juan. Anyway, Melanie and I had been talking about doing this for a long time, and so here we are. We're doing it. We're just gonna start doing it and see what happens. Thank you for tuning in. I see there's some people tuned in. There is a bit of a, you know, when you play in a bar, you can watch people walk out on you, and you get used to, you don't get used to that. You always feel sad when somebody walks out. You take that shit personal. And so this is no different, because I mean, although I can't see well, but I can see that some people are watching, and then you see like the numbers fluctuate, and then you start to feel like you said the wrong thing, and that's why they've left. When really it could be a million reasons. Wayfaring stranger, traveling through this world's woe. There is no sickness, toil or danger. That bright land to which I go, going there. My mother, she said she'd meet me when I come. Only going over Jordan, dark clouds gather over me. I know my way is dark and steep, beautiful. Those fields before me, God's redeemed, their vigils keep. Going there to see my Father, he said he'd meet me when I come. Only going over Jordan, only going home. And I wanna wear that crown of glory when I get home to that good land. I wanna sing my Savior's story, playing in blood-soaked band. Going there to see my Savior. She said she'd meet me when I come. Only going over Jordan, only going home, only going home, only going time we will be free from the frame of our bodies. The click-clack of bones collapsing to an abrupt end. We are alone across the river. No help from the shore. The mandatory watchman, a ghost who was never there. We are alone across the river. We are alone across the river. We are alone. Let's see. We've got some comments here. John Light, here since the start. Hey, John Light. Love you, man. Love John Light. Cool dude. One of the coolest. He's a big hit here in our family. Melanie and I love John Light. Thanks, dude. Good to see you here. And also, look at that. The one and only Joan Folliot. I probably butchered your last name, Joan, but thanks for being here. Our great friend Joan, the great artist. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks, you guys, for saying things. Let's see. This is from my wife. She has to say that. No, she doesn't. That's nice. She's the best. And then, of course, my mother-in-law. Just my mother, Sherry. Hey, Sherry. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for the nice messages. That was a song. That song I just played is called Wayfaring. There's a lot of names for it, I think. I know it as Wayfaring Stranger. It's an old song with there's a lot of different versions of that song, but I heard that song I heard Tift Merritt. Excuse me. I heard Tift Merritt do that song on her great album, Night. If you haven't heard that record, you have to get that record right away. She does it. It's a duo. It's her and always forget the other woman's name. She's a classical pianist. And they did this record called Night, and it's just stunning. And Tift Merritt's version of Wayfaring Stranger is dynamite. It's just fucking dynamite. Anyway, I love that song, and I just like to play it. So there you go. But it does fit in. Fits in with the theme a little bit here. I'd like to play for you now another song from my record, Wildwood Road. Hey, have you heard Wildwood Road? You should hear it. It's a really good record. I'm not kidding. I'm not just saying that because it's mine. I wouldn't talk about it if I was embarrassed about it. I think it's pretty good. I was lucky to meet Justin. He really made it sound spectacular. He's an amazing dude. All the guys in my band are amazing. Okay, this is a little song I wrote for my dad and my grandfather. And it's called Conquistador Blues. There you stood on furrowed ground, where you once were king. Now you sit with your Spanish dolls, and the bullfights on TV. Set in your ways, you never came around. The son that you raised was the one who brought me down. And on your river runs, the lonely San Joaquin. From the banks of a mighty flood, I rose an angry sea, and I couldn't be tamed. Wouldn't settle down. The boy's sun rays was the one who let him down. Stole away your Andalusian blood, all that remains of your name, and the strange and brave. Oh, look at that. We got Jay Fung Jay Fung is here. Hey, man. Jay Fung from New York City, but originally from Fresno, California. We now live in New York. Hey, Jay. The great Jay Fung, ladies and gentlemen. And there's my mother-in-law saying what a great record it is. That's right. That's right. So great everybody's here, and I feel really lucky. No, Jay just told me to stop. Look, he said stop. It's really great that you're all here. This is cool. This is fun. That's a song called Conquistador Blues, and I wrote it for my grandfather and my father and me. Really, oh, look who's here. Sorry, I'm getting caught up in this, but it's kind of fun. Look, the great Scott Oliver is here too, also from Fresno. Scott and Jay are from the legendary band, the Miss Allens. And anybody from Fresno just wants to be them, I think. I'm not kidding. That's not hyperbole. Thanks, you guys, for coming. Now Jay's mad. I think he's mad. Anyway, I love you guys. Thank you for coming. I just wanted to talk about that song really quick. That song is on my record, on Wildwood Road, and it's about my grandfather, my father, and me. I'm the last of all the Delgados. I'm the last male Delgado, and my grandfather was a really strict guy, farmer, and my father was pretty strict too, and my father and I did not get along for a long time. I was not an easy person to live with. Neither was he, but I was really wild. Look at that. Derek Cox is here now. This is important. He's also from Fresno. Derek, what's up, dude? Derek and I were on the soccer team together when we were little kids, and my dad was our coach. And Derek was such a good soccer player. We were a championship team. Hey, Derek, it's been a long time. Anyway, he's from a blast from the past too. What I was trying to say was that I'm the last male Delgado in the line, and so the name Delgado kind of ends with me as far as men having it, which is an old tradition anyway. But my dad and I didn't get along for years and years and years, and that was just kind of a little tribute to them, to him, and then to my grandfather too, who anyway, he had, I don't know what I'm saying. It's weird how things get passed down to you from grandfathers and fathers and people in your life, and I think we just inherit things, and we don't know why. I certainly inherited a lot from those men, and I didn't want to necessarily, but then there was a lot of good things too. I don't know, it's about coming to terms with our lives. As you get older, you realize they weren't as wrong as you thought they were, and as I have aged and become a father and a husband, I realized how difficult it is and that they weren't so bad, Anyway, my father recently passed away on Thanksgiving, and so I wanted to play that for him today. And I'm going to do one more show-stopping poem. If you guys are with me, I'm going to read you this poem that I recently wrote, and I think it's done. But I'm going to give it a whirl. I wasn't going to do it, but I think, once again, Melanie talked me into doing it. No, I blame Melanie for everything. So, this is a poem I recently finished for my dad. You can read it in its entirety on my website, markxdelgado.com. It's in my blog, on my blog page. And there's other things too. I'm putting together a book that's coming out soon. Some of you have already ordered it, so it'll be coming soon. But this is a little poem I wrote from my father, and it's called "Light is Transitory and Always Failing." It's in sections, so they're numbered, so I'll just say that number at the beginning of each section. 1. My daughter was 4 when we were attacked by wasps in the front yard of our house in upstate New York, where we weathered the early years of her life, the pandemic, and my father's death. I was stung first. A dark scout from a nest in the ground crept inside the lip of my boot and pierced my calf, a signal to the rest to defend the queen at all costs. 2. I traveled a great distance to be there at the foot of a mountain on the edge of a wood, all the way from the San Joaquin Valley, where summer chokes the light and light is transitory and always failing, where I spoke a very particular language, drug talk, private slang, free verse, and slant rhymes, stuff I picked up on basketball courts on the west side, twitching at the elbow of the free throw line, trying to shake a defender to execute my signature mid-range jumper or drive hard to the rim, leaving the ground with the ease I had then, my head humming with Mexican red hair sensimilla and gangsters' voices echoing off the hardwood and vaulted ceilings of home's playground gymnasium. 3. Huddled in the dark pews of the south wing, chewing the shit out of my cheek, and Peter Everwine trembling from the podium at the Art Museum on Dakota and Clinton, where just outside the shrouded wolves waited, and inside I was learning how to use words and images to change the dismal scenery of the Central Valley and the seemingly hopelessness of my cause. It was the first time I had heard a wrist compared to a star, or anything really. What an elegant word, wrist. Oh, what an infinitesimal piece of dust I was then. 4. Anyway, it broke the monotony and violence into stanzas, and I took up with the bruised and angry motel girls on Golden State Boulevard along Freeway 99. 5. I thought then that I wanted to become a minister, and I chose a path not unlike Jesus, who also favored the company of prostitutes, and walked out across the water and spoke to fishermen from the impossible twinkling waves, and laid waste to the money changers with a whip he must have borrowed, or up until then kept like a secret to himself. And who knew he knew how to use such a thing? Who knew? Once, evangelizing on the street, the group I was with turned their backs on a drunk begging for change, and they did it, I know, because they knew not what it was to need a drink, and so they missed an opportunity for salvation. After all, was it not Christ himself, torn and bleeding, beat all the way down to shit, asking for $1 or $2 there on Olive Avenue among the lepers and the stoned, Earl the Pearl with his hand out, a human turnstile? 6. We had stumbled upon something as old as a hive of wasps buried in the ground. An invisible pestilence, moving from one pair of lungs to another, one cruel gesture at a time, blacked out beneath a swarm of bees. It came to nothing, my wanting to be a priest or a scholar. In my mind, it was the same thing. Whip merchants, piss off Pharisees, write a poem about the futility of fishing. And finally, bring the adrift back to the shore, one by one, to breathe relief. But I guess I didn't know how tough things had become. Christ. 7. My father departed this earth in stages. It makes sense when you think about it. His mind cut out before his body did. He was a marathon runner, and the whole gist is to turn off the brain and settle into some type of rhythm despite the pain. He did, however, go down swinging at the minimum wage workers, and indifferent bureaucrats who had assumed control of his life. He was a man who had learned about freedom on his own terms. Time, his nemesis and companion. He mastered the sub-6-minute mile and the 8-hour-plus workday, then in glue-gunned shoes left the earth in long, exploratory flights of time and space and endurance. You don't need that, he would tell me, whenever I was in the throes of desire or dissatisfaction. He would point to my shoes in disarray on the floor and say, fix that. 8. What can I tell my daughter after such a vicious assault? That it's going to be okay? We sit up in bed late into the night in the dark and talk. Sometimes to each other, other times to our invisible and old companions that we have imagined or endured, and we secretly listen in on each other's conversations, amending and smiling into the parts of the story that make no sense. Okay. What time is it? Wow, all right. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for joining me on the maiden voyage of our live stream endeavor. Wow, thanks for all the fun comments. Thanks everybody for listening. I'm going to play one more song. This is the final song on Wildwood Road. Oh, I'm going to mention one more book because it's just really interesting to me. I'm a huge... J. Fong. Peter Everwine. See, if you're from Fresno, you know Peter Everwine was a giant. He was one of the great poets, one of the great Fresno poets. And J. Fong got to study with the great Phil Levine, by the way. This is the last song on Wildwood Road. And it's called Souls Repeating. It's co-written by, of course, Justin Tracy, but also Mary Scout, our daughter. I had this riff for years, and I was playing this riff. I was playing this. Forever. I thought it was going to be a song, but I didn't know what song it was going to be. And then one day I'm sitting in here in this office, and Mary Scout walked in and sang the first verse. We'll get to that. I'm going to play it. I just wanted to say this. So I'm going to mention one more book because it's such a cool coincidence. I'm a huge fan of the Decemberists, the great band the Decemberists, the great songwriter Colin Malloy. And I titled the record Wildwood Road. I called it that because when we moved to Woodstock, we lived on a road called Whitehead Road, which is a really unfortunate name for a road. But it just seemed when we had got there to Whitehead Road that our lives had just changed drastically, Melanie and I, and we just seemed like our lives had become something totally different than we had imagined they would be. And what is Joan saying to me here? Oh, yeah, so I will name the names once again. But so when we got to, thank you, Joan, you're so sweet. And when we got to Whitehead Road in Woodstock, New York, in the Birdcliff Art Colony, our lives had just changed drastically, and we were so happy to be there. And it felt like we went from having no choices to a myriad of choices in our lives. Could just sprawl in any direction, and that's kind of what Wildwood Road means. It's not that original to call something Wildwood. The great Paul Weller has a song called Wildwood, and don't know that that was in there. Maybe I love that song, but anyway, I called the record Wildwood Road instead of Whitehead Road. It just seemed more fun. But I've stumbled across these books written by Colin Malloy. He wrote them for his son, and I'm almost done with this one. There's 3 of them, but this book is called Wildwood, and I just thought it was a really great coincidence. And Melanie bought them all for me for my birthday, and this book is great. It's like a long version of a Decemberist song, so I highly recommend it. It's beautiful. So I just thought that was a cool coincidence. Great minds think alike is what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say. The other, to respond to what Joan said, I'll talk about the. These are the poets I read tonight. I read a book. I read from a book called "Shooting Rats at the Bibb County Dump" by the great David Bottoms. He's got novels, and he's got a couple novels and some short stories, I think, too. But his poems are just devastating, great. And then the great Larry Levis, who is there's a really cool documentary about him that you can watch. I forget what it's called, but Iron and Wine does the soundtrack too. But Larry Levis is from Fresno, and Jay Fung and Scott Oliver know that this guy is one of the greats. I mean, he's one of my favorite poets, if not my favorite. So those are the poets I read, and I'm gonna finish with this song. Thanks for sticking around, guys. Thanks for hanging out, talking to me, and so I was sitting in my office playing this, and Mary Scott walked in and sang this. When I use my eyes, when I use my eyes, I can see the sunrise. I can see the sunrise. Here we are. I wrote that. Here we are. When I wave goodbye, when I wave goodbye, hope that you'll be there. Hope that you'll be there when I come back home. Here we are. Lucky that we came this far. Here we are. Lucky that we came this far. Wildwood Road, Wildwood Road, Wildwood Road. Thanks for tuning in to the first installment of MXDTV. It's been fun. We're going to do it again next Thursday, same time. I'll send out the link. Hopefully we'll see you again. Thank you. Love ya. Have a great night and a great weekend.